we've looked at our waggles, we've done our short burst writing over here. Now it's time to start planning. So just as we always plan in class, just as we've always done, we're going to start with our structure, and you can, this will be on the PowerPoint slide as well. You can take that exactly from what's here. So structure column, we've got our how-to sentence or our title. We'll have an instruction, an equipment list, step-by-step instructions, and then at the end some kind of conclusion or warning or word of caution. Now in the middle column, what we do, if you remember, is we go back to our waggles and we jot down some words and phrases that could go in each of those sections, because that will really help us to organise our work. Now at this point, feel free to use some of the ones that I've used, but also this is the point to go back to your waggles, back to your table that you did yesterday or the day before as well, back to this table here, and you can get some ideas from there too. So this, I've done it in a different colour, you can do it in a different colour if you want to, is just some really good words and phrases, quite often sentence openers, but not always, to remind me as I plan of the kinds of things that I need to be putting in. And then finally, so this column is just copying. This column, you might copy some ideas, but you might have some of your own. And then this final column, this is what you do independently. So this is where you think, what ideas am I going to put in? Don't write loads and loads here. I know that I've heard of people at home writing for hours and hours in their plan. This plan has taken me no more than 15 minutes. So to be honest, it shouldn't really be taking you more than half an hour if you're completely focused on it. An hour at absolute most. In here are going to be your notes in bullet point form. So, what's your title? How to Care for a Snarret is mine. So I've just taken the idea from there. I'm not going to put loads of detail into what my introduction is because I've already written it. So who am I doing that for? All I've done is made a note of that of those sentence structures that I use. Rhetorical question, sell it, describe it, what's the purpose. Then we have our equipment list. Now this is where you can start to have a little bit of fun, because it's not real. A snarret's not real. I'm sure that it's scientifically impossible for a snarret to actually exist, but we need to come up with some equipment. So I've decided to put an enclosure, and my enclosure is going to be 100 metres cubed, so it's going to be a very big enclosure. I've also put a rainforest, I've also put a ridiculous quantity of nuts, and I've taken that idea from the Minotaur of a whistle as well. Then you need to think about your instructions. This is where you really need to start to think about what you want to put, what you want to say, what instructions you're going to have, and that will depend largely on your animal, but you'll also get a lot of ideas from the waggles that we've seen and from the ideas that I'm giving you now. So I've decided that my first instruction is going to be about acclimatising. Now year 5, you've come across this word when we did the arrival. This is about the snarret getting used to their new surrounding, and that it needs to be able to roam freely for a while. When I came to plan paragraph 2, it became immediately apparent that this was kind of linked to instruction 1. And so I decided at that point that I was going to use bullet points rather than numbers for my instructions, because they don't necessarily go in a chronological order. So my next one is linked to the roaming freely. If they're roaming freely, they might make a bit of a mess. Remember, our snarret has that kind of sticky, slimy underbelly, so it might be leaving trails, might also be pooing a bit, but we're not going to use the word poo because this is going to be a reasonably formal set of instructions, even if they are quite humorous at times. So I've used the word feces there. I've put 3 dots under it because I'm not sure if I've spelt that right, so I might need to come back and check that at some point. And we can use some clean warm water to clean it up. Shouldn't have put a bullet point there. That's part of the same instruction. Then I've got one about feeding. I've got some ideas about feeding. So feed peanuts 3 times a day, but we're not going to make it that easy. It's not going to be that basic. They're going to have to be hidden, because again, that helps me to add detail to my instructions. Number 4 is going to be about picking it up and picking it up carefully, because It has this slimy underbelly, and the slime can be quite toxic and quite irritating for skin. Number 5 is going to be about using the whistle to call it back. And number 6 is going to be about cleaning and bathing. So there's my ideas for my instructions. And then finally, in my conclusion, what do I need to warn them about? Well, I'm going to magpie that idea that a snout is for life, which I think was in at least one, if not both, of your waggles. I'm going to talk about salt, because anyone who's ever put a slug or a snail anywhere near salt will know that that's not very good for them at all. And I'm also going to talk about the snout's sharp beak as well. Alright, so what you need to do now is you need to go away, and again, this is on the PowerPoint, so you don't need to keep pausing the video, although you can if it's useful to you. You're going to draw this table really neatly. Make sure you leave at least a whole page for it. You're going to copy this structure down here, it's on the PowerPoint. You're going to put some examples in from the waggles that you've looked at, and then you're going to write your ideas in words and phrases, no more than that.